What's up, everybody? It's me, Shem, where I'm joined here by Richie Roberts, Moonlight
Hello.
Sparks, and Snuggle
Ooh.
Velocity. We
Hey.
are here on a light novel stream once again. Thank you all for coming. We are here reading Mushoku Tensei, the latter half of Volume 7.
The last
Volume
20
8 will be right around
pages.
the corner, so please stick
Yeah.
around after the
Oh
stream.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks you once again for coming. I will be reading today. But if anyone's new here, this is a stream where we like to read light novels. I am joined here by some fellow voice actors.
You already
Mhm.
did us.
Yeah, if you know, you know. But for those who are new here, but
Oh, you
please
want us?
introduce
You want us?
yourselves. Hmm?
You want? Okay, so you want us to tell them what we do in case they watch the YouTube channel. Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
smart. Good stuff. I should have you do
Yes.
the intro from now on. You were so much better than my brain-addled ADHD ass.
What's up, everybody? It's Shemaplier.
Shimapplier.
Yeah.
Top of the
Hello,
morning to
everybody.
you,
My name is
laddies. It's
Shimapplier.
Shim
Welcome back to
Septiceye
part
here.
72 of Mushoku
Let's do this
Tensei.
shit.
Hi, everybody. My name is Richie Roberts. I voice multiple characters in Fat Dog Studios, most of whom you've heard die in excruciating detail, including a rapping rabbit. But I'm probably most known for voicing Menu Sama, aka
Mm.
Rimuru. But like, I don't do the voice of Rimuru. I'm not that talented.
Would be
And
amazing if you could do that.
that would be phenomenal if it was me all along and I could just suddenly sound like a girl, you know?
I feel like that would take a lot of training.
That
It's hard to
would,
pull your voice up.
I'm
up there.
I'm a Mr.
Yes, it
Potato
really
Head. I have to
is.
remove my testicles, you know.
Well,
Just have to like really grip
I
them
think
to
you
the
could still
point where
keep them.
you feel like they don't.
I
They
just
get
Mr. Potato Head instead
Google,
of
show me a picture of this man's balls.
instead of removing my testicles, I just twist them inside out and they become ovaries, you know. So
Yeah,
it
Finding
works.
Dragon Balls.
That makes sense.
That does,
Perfect
yeah.
sense.
Anyhow, but yeah, I voice that character and a smattering of others you may know of.
Schmattering.
Schmattering. Most of them don't have names, but you know the few that do. B Rabbit being one from Shield, and I can't talk about the one in solo leveling yet because we haven't debuted that episode.
Not yet.
Yeah,
It's close.
I don't do a lot of named characters. It's mostly like, hey, this background character dies. Oh, okay, and you immediately
And
felt.
what do
it.
you want me to do about it? You're the background character.
Yeah.
No!
You're the.
Yeah.
I was
That was
a
a good
thug
clip.
with standards in Shield
pretty
as
good.
well. As
Yeah.
thugs with standards, and then we proceed to all die. So you know, good stuff. That being said, yeah, that's me. Hi, bye.
I'm Moonlight Sparks. I voice Jinu Sung in our solo leveling abridged.
Notice
And
he
I
said
am
the name
also-
correctly.
Yes. I also am the co-writer and co-director or creative writer, creative director.
Oh shit!
Creative writer, assistant director on solo leveling. Fuck me.
I
God.
only listed my acting roles. Shit.
Oh, I thought. Yeah. Why
That's your
Why
fault.
didn't you say more? You do so much.
I write and direct
Did a
most of
lot.
the things you see on Fat Dog.
Facts.
Solo leveling abridged. The slime. Log Horizon. Konosuba. Lots of things. I do the things. I also occasionally like make content here on Twitch. This channel and sometimes my own if I'm feeling lucky. I think that's all. I was trying to just very quickly get it all out of the way.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Snuggle Velocity, you're up next.
Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah.
everybody. My name's Snuggle. You might know me as Snuggle Velocity. I voice Park in Solo Leveling a Bridge, as well as Tonomachi in Data Bridge, which I also help direct and co-write for.
It's true. It's true. In Solo Leveling Abridged, he sees both sides of the story. I had a really rough day. Let me have this one.
Well, all you had to say.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
make a
in your hands.
Professor
Halves,
Asvin joke
but-
for your dead rabbit character earlier, but I chose not to.
Oh, man. No, you
Well.
can go ahead. After all, we haven't started talking about your split personality yet.
You mean you voiced Professor Azabin, Sega's unofficial first mascot before Sonic the Hedgehog became a thing?
I'm pretty sure B.
Look
it up,
Rabbit
that's
was
true.
Not that. No.
Sognog the hog. Interesting. Ugh.
I don't think that's quite right. In fact, I'm two minds about it.
Two minds.
See,
Listen, there are two sides to
one
every story.
family.
That's
There's
what
that
I
side
was
and then there's
pointing
the
out
other
at the
side.
beginning. That's what. So all right. So Yui's jokes about your character in Solo Leveling and Bridge, they're far too one-sided. We could be so much more creative with these.
Yeah.
The potential.
I feel like there's got to be like a whole
We're just
story
gonna
about
start.
him, and, like,
We're just gonna start roasting your character in Yui's chat at some point. It's gonna be great.
no, yeah, at some point we do in the actual
roast of
episode when we get
Sonic's
to that
character.
point.
And
When we get to
honestly,
the-
it would
what-
take half as much effort as we think.
Yeah, well,
The
actually,
roast of Sonic 06.
it depends on the half.
Mm.
You know
Yeah.
what would actually be a really good idea in going with that angle in the episode where it's like, what's the one guy who murders like Park's partner character or whatever, like Shem's character basically. It's like that's where you make all of the split
The
part
assassin?
Yeah.
The assassin
jokes. The guy who
guy?
like murders Shem's character.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
him,
the
Mr. Kim.
assassin guy, right?
The assassin. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr.
Tay
Kim.
I wasn't sure if you were saying like assassin. What are you talking about, kind of thing?
Tashik, the assassin. Yeah, the assassin
Yeah,
dude.
Tashik.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
whenever
dude,
that happens,
during
that's
the
when you make all
torture,
those jokes.
during the torture, he's like, "So, I like to take scrupulous notes. How does this make you feel?" And it's like, to be fair, I'm kind of split on the idea.
Yeah.
Just like Park's
works.
spirit is watching this is like, oh God, come on!
No,
like
no,
I
no,
come back for like
the
a
funniest
ghost roll.
the funniest part is he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of split on the idea."
If I had
Oh,
half in mind,
he
I'd
doesn't.
tell you how I really feel.
He's like, he keeps making these puns about Park, and it hurts every
like a
time
way to
because he's
cope.
not intentionally doing it, and it's like
Yeah.
his best buddy, and he's just reliving it. Oh, that's so good. Fuck.
Yes.
Dang.
The problem is that's episode 4 content, and I'm not gonna remember that. So Moon is going to have to
Write that
fucking
down.
write it down somewhere.
Yeah, like I was fixing to say, do you not remember we made a thing for this?
Yeah,
Okay,
write it on
Google
your
Doc.
Schmeenus.
With
It's not
Sharpie.
big enough.
I beg to differ.
I think I got pills for that actually.
I beg to differ.
Shem, I appreciate your kind words.
All right. Also, whether or not we go to a con, apparently everybody needs to come to my house at the end of June because there's going to be lots of yummy foods.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Is it the assassins making joke or that
No.
Park,
It's
It's
not
both.
Park. It's
Mr.
it's
Kim.
Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim.
Yeah.
Mr. Kim, thank you.
Don't talk
Who-
about
yeah.
my June that way.
Who I also voice, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we should probably get to what you do, Shem.
Oh yeah, sorry. So my name is Shem Shem. If you're new here, I am the voice of Soe from the time I got reincarnated as a slime abridged. I'm also Mr. Kim in our solo leveling light novel.
Mm-hmm.
Our solo leveling specials, basically. But yeah, I mean, pretty much all I do right now is just I voice act, but I'm trying to do some stuff on the side. There's a lot going on in my life right now, but
You're also
later on,
Mr. Kim
hopefully,
in
I'll
the
hope to have a
Abridged.
chit. Oh, that's true. I am Mr. Kim in our abridged and our specials, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I
the
also-
most prominent character as of right now.
I do
So.
I do have an apology and an announcement.
Mhm.
This is just kind of wish casting in the second part, but the first part is I apologize. I don't know if Soe is going to be in the recent episode that I'm writing for Slime because
Oh no, that's
there's-
fine.
There's not
He
a
is-
lot. I do
He
know
is
that
not the focus right now.
he is not.
if
the
we're
focus
at
of
where
that
we
story,
are.
to be yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm
He's just
literally
here, and
episode
that's
10
fine.
is literally just the first half of season 2.
Yeah,
Just kind of
I'm just
get
happy to be
mixed.
aboard. It's all
I mean,
good.
there's a lot of unnecessary shit that we get to skip, and it's just like, oh, okay, cool. And then we get right to the
Aw.
depressing shit.
Yeah,
the
so
hard
it's-
and depressing shit. And it's not
Yeah,
like Soe's not the focus here, guys. I'm sorry.
yeah. There's
However-
much more important things going on in that
However,
point of the
to
story.
make up for a serious lack of Soe in the second half,
Mhm.
episode 11,
Mhm.
we will have some Soe. Soe will be coming in and just he'll be showing everybody. He'll be asking, why are they so exhausted? Why are you all bleeding? Oh man, that's
Well,
actually good. That's actually good.
I was
can
gonna
Like
say
I bet
that
he's
we're
been
gonna
off
at
on
least
his
voice
own
the
mission. He
sponsor.
comes back. What the
You are bleeding.
fuck?
This
I
abridged
just
episode
love
was
that.
sponsored by
I
NordVPN.
love that he's just like, why are you all bleeding? Solid pun, sir. He's so hot.
It's been a while since Chara's been on here.
Yeah, it
I
has.
don't know why that one line just reminded me of her, but it's fine.
Yeah, because she is the one that thirsts over Soe, or her character
Yeah.
does rather.
Yeah.
And then I do. Hey, there's Calvin.
Hey,
The
hi,
tail
Calvin.
wagging.
Calvin.
Been a
Stop.
while.
Don't you stop wagging
Hello.
your tail, there, buddy. But the other good news from this is, oh, and by the way, on both channels, I was stalking your stream on Saturday. I was just lurking around.
Clerkin.
Yeah, lurking my gherkin. Ay.
Mhm.
Anyway, but yeah, the other
Calvin's
half
channel.
of that is to say that yes, we will be reaching out. An attempt will be made. We're gonna try and get a hold of Vettel and have the Rimuru AI talk to the streamer AIs.
Oh my god.
Yay!
That there's an idea. Guys, don't assume it's gonna happen. It's an idea we're gonna attempt. It may not happen. I'm just gonna
Flip it, put
say
it on
we're
Twitter,
gonna
make it happen.
we're gonna
Fire.
make an attempt. We're gonna make an attempt to reach out to Vettel and see if Neuro and Evil would like to talk to, or just record something for a vague. We'll give a vague description of a scene, and let them go, and then based on what they say, I can write a scene around some of it. You know? That's kind of
Okay.
that's kind of my vibe. That is the idea. It's not the plan. It's not anything else. But we would like to reach out, and if at all possible, see if Vettel and Evil and Neuro would be down to contribute. It's it's gonna be interesting. I am very interested in seeing how they would react to this. Is the scenario? How would you react? Go. You know.
Mm.
And then I can base dialogue from Rimuru around that. Yeah, might actually just get the our actress who's playing Rimuru to do that. But that's guys, that's going to be an episode 11 thing, not an episode 10 thing. So don't automatically expect them there. But guys, thank you so much for showing up. Hello, Calvin. So happy to see our best boy here, best boy Puppers Ranga. So.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so good to see you there. Also, wow, I forget. I'm sitting there like, wow, man, are you in transit? And then I realize what time it is over in the eastern coast. Yeah.
9:20.
Shem, you're gonna be
Yes.
wow, you're gonna be taking it away. There is one note to say here. The stream will be ending with the end of volume 7 for
Yes.
a short period of time, just long
Mhm.
enough for me to change the title of the stream
Yes.
and make sure that we have it as 2 separate videos for upload VODs.
Yeah,
And
of course. That's
then-
cool.
And then we will begin volume 8. So for the rest
Yes.
of the evening, it will be the Shemathon. We enjoy his voice. I don't care if you don't. We like it, and that's the important thing. Reread for us. Damn it. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right, take it away, Shem.
Yeah. Without further ado, the chapter that we're starting on, it's if you're new to this, we are currently covering volume 7. The chapters will start from Sarah's point of view. So if you're just joining, it'll be a little bit weird. Sarah's one of the characters in the
I mean, if you've seen season
counter
2,
arrow group. So yeah, if you've seen season 2 in Shoku
Right.
Tensei,
Yeah.
you'll know where we're at. But this is going to be from her perspective. So
This is the
anyway.
epilogue, I believe.
Oh, okay. Sarah. Meanwhile, Sarah was left feeling shocked and resentful after the encounter, harboring a fierce loathing for the one named Rudius Greyrat. I can't believe it. I just can't. I can't, she shrieked. It was just under noon. A substantial amount of time had passed since she'd slapped the boy. Currently, she was on the bank of a river about half a day's distance from Rosenberg. The party was escorting some fisherfolk, a C-ranked request that posed no danger. In other words, Sarah had nothing to do. As a result, she spent her free time cursing Rudius. I can't believe that lowlife! What scum! A complete and utter scumbag! She was frustrated. She had really liked him. Of course, she couldn't stand him at first, but even when they did their first job together, she more or less understood that he wasn't a bad person. Her feelings for him went no further than that. He was just a cowardly noble boy, despite the enormous power he possessed. That impression of him had only changed over what happened in the Galgo ruins. He took up the rear and faced the horde of snowdrakes without saying a word, just so the rest of them could escape. Rudius was certainly strong enough to have outrun the creatures alone, but he prioritized getting Counter Arrow out alive. Back then, she didn't understand why he'd hidden his abilities, but she did realize he was the kind of person who'd sacrifice himself to save others. From there, her feelings for him gradually began to change. Sarah started to take an interest in what he said and did. She tried to dismiss her budding feelings, reminding herself that she hated adventurers who were born into nobility, or really that she just hated nobles as a whole. But the denial didn't stick, and somewhere in her heart, she realized that Rudius was different from the nobles she hated. The mess in Trier Forest was the one last straw in getting her to admit her true feelings, or perhaps it was better to call it an opportunity rather than a mess. At death's door in that forest, witnessing Rudius coming to save her by himself, she finally acknowledged it wasn't hatred in her heart, but rather affection she'd fallen for Rudius. With that realization, Sarah took an assertive approach. She started inviting him to their hangouts and actively engaging him in conversation. The more they talked, the more her affection for him grew. When she looked at him, she felt his blossoming affection for her. That was why she proposed a date and moved forward with the resolve to see it through to the end. Sarah was too embarrassed to confess her feelings directly, so she planned to use her life debt to him as a pretext for betting him. Then, she decided she would reveal her true feelings once they'd slept together, which was why what followed came as such a shock. His body didn't react to hers. He seemed like he cared about her and even seemed receptive to her feelings for him, but apparently he felt no attraction to her body. It was a slap in the face. If she had the wits to watch Rudius's reaction more closely, she would have realized he was in shock too. He hadn't intended this to happen, and he was just as anxious as her. Unfortunately, it was Sarah's first time, and she didn't have enough composure for that. It was all she could do to spit some words at him to save her pride and get out of there. She'd sob as she fled back to her inn and continued to cry as she explained the situation to Suzanne. She spent the entire night in tears, but somehow resolved to put on a cheery front the next day. But Rudius wasn't at their meeting spot the next day. At his inn, the owner told them he had left the previous night and not returned. Asking around, they learned that Soldat had dragged him off someplace. Rudius, and the whole of Counter Arrow, in fact, did not get along with Soldat. Maybe he and Soldat had gotten into it and Soldat had dragged him off to hang him. As Sarah fretted over the possibilities, she and Suzanne followed Rudius's tracks. That was when they spotted him, at the entrance to the red light district, kissing a red haired escort. Unbelievable. After Sarah hadn't been able to satisfy him, he'd gone and had sex with a prostitute instead. Soldat stood nearby, and the two of them were very clearly hammered. Then she heard what he said. Based on everything she'd seen and heard, Sarah came to this conclusion. Rudius had spent the night with Soldat, betting women and downing the same alcohol he refused to drink with her and the other members of Counter Arrow. He laughed as he recounted how utterly undesirable and unattractive her body had been. Her shock and devastation took over, keeping her from putting together the telltale clues that suggested otherwise. Her affection for him instantly turned inside out into loathing. If Sarah had been a bit older, she might have been able to think about this calmly. Unfortunately, she was just a 16-year-old girl. Teenagers her age were certain that everything they saw and felt was fact. Besides, she had lived her whole life as an adventurer and had no idea how to restrain the surge of emotion that resulted. She certainly didn't realize that she had a bad habit of lying to herself and ignoring the truth. Hey, Sarah? Suzanne was a bit more mature in that respect. She had seen Rudius and saw that too, but her impression of the encounter was slightly different. Now that her emotions had cooled, she realized there was something off about what Rudius had said. The boy she saw that night was not the Rudius she knew. Something had happened. Susanna had been in this sort of situation before, and she knew the danger in taking what you saw at face value. On the other hand, it was possible Rudius really had been dishonest with them, which was why she opted to first comfort Sarah rather than act as a mediator. Uh, do you think maybe we kind of misunderstood the situation? Suzanne asked. What part did we misunderstand? Sarah barked back at her. After I. After we. And then he had the audacity to show up with some prostitute and start belittling me. Think about it, Suzanne urged her. Could Rudius really be such a despicable guy? No, duh. He just hid it from us the entire time. I was fooled. We all were. Who knows? Maybe he was even in league with Stepladder back at the Galgo ruins. Oh boy, Suzanne shrugged helplessly. She wasn't well versed in affairs of romance herself, so she didn't have any good advice to offer. When she searched for words, Sarah continued to brim with unfiltered resentment. Timothy interjected. What's wrong? Isn't it about time you guys tell me what happened too? Sarah, can I give him the non-specifics? Sarah didn't care that Timothy was the party leader. She had no interest in sharing the details of her situation, but knowing how it might impact the party's mood, she weakly nodded at Suzanne. Okay, so what happened is, Suzanne spoke in a whisper, relaying the events to Timothy. She did her utmost to keep it vague and remain as objective as possible. After a few moments, Timothy suddenly looked up. So that, huh? Perhaps you should ask the escort for the exact details of what happened then. But Soldat hates us, Suzanne protested. The only one he hates is me, and Rudius, but you saw them together. Maybe he was trying to help? The man has a bad attitude and talks trash, but I've heard rumors that he's good at looking after people. If he really was rotten to the core, he wouldn't be the leader of their veteran S-rank party like stepped ladder. Besides, the Soldat really wanted to get at Sarah. He wouldn't go about it in such a roundabout manner. He'd have a man wait in her room or a back alleyway for her, or Timothy, we get it, Suzanne cut in. Enough. Sarah lifted her head. She had to admit that Timothy had a point. She had been too caught up in self pity to really observe her surroundings that night, but it seemed like Rudius was depressed too. Maybe the way things played out and had been beyond even his control. Let me ask him about it when we get home, Suzanne offered. No, I'll ask him myself, Sarah resolved. If it turns out I just jumped to conclusions, then I'll apologize. However, by the time Sarah returned to the town, Rudius was nowhere to be found. He was neither at the Adventurers Guild nor at the inn. Quagmire, don't know, haven't seen him today. Hmm. Unable to find him anywhere, Sarah ventured into the pleasure district. The businesses there were already beginning to open as night approached, but customers had yet to start arriving, so numbers on the streets were still thin. Sarah began asking after Rudius' location. Perhaps she suspected in the back of her mind that he might return here tonight. She went through several brothels, which were still preparing to open, before she spotted a certain woman. It's you, Sarah gasped. Hmm? Oh, it was Elise. Sarah didn't know how the woman's name, just that she was a prostitute and that she witnessed her kissing Rudius on the cheek that morning. Uh, hey, do you happen to know where Rudius is? No, afraid not. Perhaps the Adventurers Guild? Elise's frowned at the sudden visitor, not recognizing her. He wasn't there. He came and saw you last night, didn't he? Do you know anything? Ah, you must be Sarah. That was enough for Elise to guess the identity of the girl before her. She glared unforgivably at Sarah, remembering why Rudius, who'd helped the girl she considered a younger sister, had come to her yesterday. The expression on his face and the emotion he'd struggled with as he went home. What do you plan to do when you find him? Back him into a corner again? Back him into a corner, Sarah echoed back, surprised. I just wanted to ask him out yesterday. Very well, then I will answer for you. Elise began recounting Rudius' story, with every intention of laying the blame on Sarah. Escorts were generally prohibited from disclosing details about their customers, but she felt like she had to share this. Impotence! After listening to the whole thing, Sarah tilted her head. She had never even heard of the concept before. It's an illness where men aren't able to get it up anymore. He's already greatly saddened and upset about the situation. What more do you plan to say to him? No, Elise ignored her and continued. If you didn't realize how hurt he was, then you're not ready to be his partner. Don't you think you should give him some space? Yeah, I guess so. Sarah had nothing to say in her defense, so she took her leave. Once out of the pleasure district, she tottered down the road back to her inn, where Suzanne waited for her. Oh, welcome back, Sarah. I just heard about that Rudius had apparently left the town this morning. What do you want to do? Should we go after him? No. Sarah just continued to her room with a glum look on her face. She flopped onto her bed and reflected on what had happened. Now she was not only weighed down by her own pain, but by the knowledge that Rudius had been hurt as well. She continued to digest the fact well into the late hours, finally mumbling, I would have at least liked to apologize. But she was too scared to pursue him. She feared he might not listen, feared he would push her away. Additionally, she realized that leaving his town without saying anything to them was also a sign of rejection. A sob escaped her throat. In the end, Sarah curled up into a ball in her bed like a turtle and didn't move at all. When dawn broke and she finally drew herself out of bed, she was keenly aware of two things: that she had dark circles beneath her eyes, and that Rudius had rejected her. She knew her love had ended, and as she watched the rising sun, she thought to herself, "But if it comes time to pass that we meet again, I'd like to apologize and be sincere about it." Epilogue.
See
Accompanying.
that right there,
Hmm?
I think was something that actually needed to be added to the anime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big chunk. Even though that was like a close to the end of the
That's
episode
some
kind of
really
deal,
important
that's pretty.
context. Yeah,
Yeah. Because it kind
because
of made her just kind of seem like a one and done thing
yeah,
in the
exactly.
anime. So
Yeah,
that would have been really important to be like, oh, yeah, she visited the red light district and then found out that he was having ED.
yeah.
So
Like she didn't know. She thought that like he didn't like
she's
her
only
or anything.
16.
I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. She has no idea what's going on in this.
Yeah.
Like she has no idea what impotence is or any of that stuff. She's a child. And this
Yeah.
was like her first time, and she thought she was being rejected, and she lashed out angrily, as she does all the time, as we've seen. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
it was actually kind of important to
I mean, it is a very
have this.
volatile age for anyone that age.
Also
So,
true, but like the
yeah.
context here, like it humanizes her. It doesn't just make her like, "Bleh," like she's not
Maybe
an
we'll get
angry
that in like
monster
a
the whole time.
series 3 or like a thing later because I feel like that's really important, especially
I
if she's going to come back later. So,
I know she's gonna come back later in the light novel. I don't know if she's gonna come back later in the anime.
yeah, I mean, I guess they can take her or leave her in the anime, but it is kind of disappointing because it's like, oh, well, this would
Yeah,
have, you know,
like
anyway.
as much as I don't like re-experiencing this because of like the whole Rudy's trauma thing here,
Yeah.
like just dumping more trauma on Rudy and then like him attempting to dagger himself.
Hmm.
Not exactly not exactly doing it the story any favors by cutting this particular portion of the anime away.
I actually missed it for the first time. I was wondering what he did because he did it so fast and there was no cue that he was going to do it. So I was like, holy shit, what happened?
Yeah, he just
I literally
went
missed it
for
by
it.
blinking. Yeah.
Yeah, he just
I
went
just saw
for it
him
and then sold
stare
out.
and then I blinked. And then the next frame, he had like, I saw his hand get caught. I was like, wait, what happened? What
Thankfully,
happened?
Sold out didn't blink. You know.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
epilogue. Accompanying Soldat, I spent about a year bouncing from town to town. We started at the third largest city of the Duchy of Neris, went to the capital Guranza, and where Thunderbolt's headquarters was located, and then to the city of Kai Leon, at the very edge of the Renoa kingdom. As we moved throughout the three magic nations, I began working on my own, independent of Soldat. I was basically doing the same stuff I did back in Rosenberg, joining adventures on a temporary basis so to get my name out there. I didn't think I'd have as much leeway to bend the rules here as I had in Rosenberg, so I only participated in B to S rank missions. I would help Soldat and his party with missions too. We moved quickly from town to town, switching locations every 2 to 3 months. The members of Step Ladder never treated me like a nuisance. In fact, it was just the opposite. They welcomed me, albeit with expressions that seemed to say, oh boy, what has Soldat dragged in this time? Several of them had been into the fold by Soldat under similar circumstances. They understood my objective and maintained a respectable distance. I had no idea what had happened to the members of Counter Arrow. I hadn't heard anything about them since that day. Maybe they found out or found some new members, or maybe the jobs got too tough and they decided to return to their Surrey kingdom. Honestly, now that things have calmed down, I wish I'd tried talking to Sarah again. Ultimately, though, this was probably for the best. My relationship with Sarah and the other members of Counter Arrow had not been part of my original objective, and diddling around in Rosenberg kept me from moving on. I had some lingering regrets about not saying anything to them before I left the city, but it wasn't worth the stress of reconciliation either. I was searching for Zenith. That was the only thing I needed to focus on. This wasn't the time to be mulling over a women like Eris or Sarah. I could worry about such things after I found Zenith. That thought alone took a weight off my chest. A relationship with a woman was completely unnecessary right now, and since it was unnecessary, I had no need to cling to regrets. These days, if a female adventurer or someone I was helping during a mission made a pass at me, I would gracefully sidestep their advances. Painful as it was, the incident with Sarah taught me something. Past version of myself would have danced on air at every woman's approach and invited them into the bedroom, positive that this time would be different, only for my hopes to be repeatedly shattered as my little man hung limp. Granted, I would be thrilled if my buddy suddenly sprang to life once more, but it was pretty far down my list of priorities. Still, I would occasionally recall my first time with Eris or Sarah's soft, supple body, or the way Elise had tried to please me. I resolved to find a cure for my impotence as soon as Zenith was found. Meanwhile, as I'd hoped, that my name would become known throughout the three magic nations. Not quite on the same scale as in Rosenberg, where even the escorts knew of me, but I was famous enough that people knew I was searching for someone. East of the three magic kingdoms, or magic nations, in one of the many small countries spread out over the northern territories, two men were talking in the Adventurers Guild. This country will be done for soon. How can you tell? People's faces. No one has any spirit left in them. Plus, there's a rumor that the Prime Minister is eager to go to war. When a country is backed into a corner and war is their only option, you can tell how things are going to end. Well, I don't want to get dragged into that mess. Maybe I should move on. Gonna have to go west then. Yeah, not out the three magic nations to see what things were like, but it's just madness out here. Aside from the two adventurers, the only occupants of the otherwise deserted guild were a group of gloomy faced adventurers and a woman who was asking the receptionist something. or something. Even the bulletin board was largely devoid of requests. The residents were impoverished and so entrenched in their problems that they couldn't even ask for assistance. Visiting adventurers were few and far in between, so even requests that did pop up went largely ignored. This Adventurers Guild was in a real slump. This country had been different long ago. Back when it was first established, it was a prominent and powerful nation among the northern territories. People were sure that it would conquer the whole of the northern region. Fate, it turned out, had different plans. Making a living in the north proved to be an incredibly difficult task. Cultivable crops were few, monsters were numerous, and travelers rarely passed through. This country had worked to develop magic as the three magic nations did. It might have done better, but alas, it produced nothing. All it did was consume what resources it had until there was nothing left to consume. Now the nation was well on the path to destruction. It was only a matter of time until one of its neighbors declared war on it, or it declared war on them. Either way, those in charge would be replaced. That might breathe life back into the Adventurers Guild, but before that could come to pass, any adventurers who remained would be caught in the middle of war. Anyone with good sense would flee before the borders were sealed, which was exactly what the two aforementioned men were talking about. Speaking of the three magic nations, I've heard a strange rumor. A strange rumor. People were talking about this ridiculously strong magician who's been temporarily joining other adventuring parties. Nothing strange about that. There's a bunch of guys who do that and make some coin. Yeah, that's just it, though. This guy wasn't even looking to make money. I don't know what he's after, but they say he's basically hasn't taken any cash. So that just means he's too useless to get a cut of things, right? No, that's not it either. Or he's unbelievably strong. Unbelievably. Yeah, just by having that one guy in their ranks, a group of 20 took down a red worm straggler. Seriously? Yeah, strange, isn't it? Someone like that wandering around as an adventurer, you'd have thought some country would have welcomed him into their service by now. That can't be right. What's this guy called? If I remember right, it was Quagmire Rudius. Quagmire, what a stupid name. Just then a shadow fell over their table. The man glanced up and found the refined looking woman, who moments ago had been conversing with the receptionist at the counter, had wandered over to their side. She was an elf. The man could immediately tell that she was a first rate warrior. She was slender but muscular, with a demeanor that suggested she'd been through many a battle. They gulped. Something was off. There was a luster to her that seemed unbefitting of a warrior. Could you share that story with me in a bit more detail? The woman put her finger to her lip, her expression almost flirtatious as she asked the question. The one we were just talking about? Yes, the one about that adventure, Quagmire Rudius. I don't know all that much, the man blurted incoherently. Right now, he wasn't sure if she was asking him a question or soliciting him. Isn't there anything you can remember? For instance, where he might have been last spotted or anything like that? Uh, uh I think. Yes, come on, try your best. If you can remember, I'll let you have your way with me. A switch flipped in the man's head. Men were simple creatures as soon as he realized she was not asking him a question, but rather propositioning him. His mind started working overtime to get what he desired. In the corner of his mind, he found himself thinking this had to be too good to be true, but he could not resist the delicious prospect dangled before him. Oh, I remember. Boscherant. It was the third largest city in Boscherant, Pippin. My, is that so? Thank you. The woman grinned at him. Then she muttered under her breath. So I finally found you. The man didn't catch the last part, but she did grab him by the hand, as if to say she was ready to offer him a reward for his efforts. Well then, let us be on our way, she announced. To Pippin? He asked in disbelief. Of course not. I have to pay you for your information. We're off to your room, unless you prefer doing it outside. What kind of pervert are you? You as well, sir. Come along. The two men took her to their inn. No, perhaps it would be more accurate to say that she took them. After all, she was the one most bent on having sex. The men, for their part, would spend some time wondering if the events that day had been a dream. Unable to forget the night they'd spent with her, they would linger in that country searching until war was upon them. That, however, is a tale for a different time. Just a bit further. Her skin looked lustrous the next morning as she set out for Boscherant's third largest city, Pippin. The largest woman. The woman's name was Elena Lise Dragonroad, and she had only one objective, to tell Regis Greyrat that his mother had been found. Sorry, that's a Freudian slip of the mind.
Hmm.
Extra chapter: The ruler of the Renoa University of Magic. Among the three magic nations, the Renoa kingdom in particular was famous for its magical education, having produced a number of exceptional magicians. 100 years prior, as the leader of the alliance between the three nations, Renoa had established the magic city of Sharia. Three prestigious organizations, one from each country, were based on this city, the Duchy of Neris Magical Implements Workshop, the Duchy of Bosharod's Magician's Guild, and finally Renoa's University of Magic. The university was the most famous of the three. There were tales told about its attendees, who included the court magicians of the three nations, the faculty of magical academies in the Asura Kingdom, and some adventurers who had left their mark on the world. There were even songs about adventurers like Roxy Magurdia, an alumni of the university. Currently, its student body numbered over 10,000, and this distinguished mammoth of a school offered a varied curriculum that went beyond just magic. A certain student had enrolled herself at the prestigious institution, one named Ariel Anemoy Asura. Ah, President Ariel, good morning. Good morning. It was a bright spring morning. Voices echoed along the tree-lined paths that extended from the student dorms to the main building. Miss Saria, Miss Misha, good day to you. The woman who responded to the greetings was charismatic beauty with silky blonde hair, glowing bright enough to turn every head as she walked. Oh, she suddenly turned with a smile and an outstretched hand. Miss Saria, your collar needs straightening. Huh? Oh, there, it's fixed. You're beautiful. So you simply must pay attention to your appearance. Oh, yes. The younger girl's cheeks have reddened. Ariel nodded in satisfaction. Have a wonderful day, ladies, she said, and continued down the walkway. The girl left in her wake, spent a few moments dumbfounded before turning to her friend, bouncing with excitement. President Ariel touched me. She said I was beautiful. Beautiful! That's so amazing. Seriously? Ariel listened to the pleasant sound of their boisterous squeals as she continued her way to the school. People erupted in murmurs as they spotted her. Look, it's President Ariel. She always looks so beautiful. Maybe I should try talking to her. Idiot, like she'd ever give you the time of day. Men and women alike exclaimed their admiration when they saw her. Even though they all wore the same uniform, Ariel still shone like a light in the dark. Look, it's Master Luke and Master Fitz. They're so dreamy. Looking at the three of them together, it's almost like a painting come to life. It wasn't just Ariel who drew attention. The two protectors shadowing her were targets of envy as well. One was the handsome Luke Greyrat with his vibrant brown hair slicked back, and the other was the young boy Fitz with his short cropped white hair and thick sunglasses. Both of them, the dreamy knight and pretty boy, served the most beautiful woman in the school. The sight of them was enough to excite the other students' imaginations, fostering the idea that these three individuals existed on some higher dimension than the rest. Have you heard? Lady Ariel is looking for exceptional people. What for? To be her trusted retainers when she returns to her kingdom, at least. Or to her kingdom. At least, that's what I heard. Seriously? Amazing. Can I volunteer myself? With your grades? As if. Yeah, better keep working at it. Those three envied individuals were the center of the school's attention. Bathed in the warm spring sunlight, they looked even more gorgeous than they had in winter. Everyone believed, beyond a shadow of doubt, that they had a dazzling future ahead of them. Why were they so beloved by the students? Was it because of their looks? Their impressive skills? Those were contributing factors, of course, but not the real reason. To understand how Ariel established herself in her current position, we will have to go back several years. Several years prior, Ariel Anemoy Asura had lost the political battle in the Asura kingdom and fled the country. Some theorize she died in the process, but while it was true that she was pursued by assassins, she somehow managed to escape to the Renoa kingdom. Ariel received protection from the kingdom and then, as she originally intended, successfully enrolled in the University of Magic. Of course, she hadn't given up on the regaining of power, or she hadn't given up on regaining power in the Asura kingdom. Ariel knew she must return as soon as possible, for the sake of Paimon Notos Greyrat, who still supported her from within the kingdom. But it was clear that history would just repeat itself if she returned as she was now, and so the princess concocted the idea of scouting for exceptional talent at Renoa's university in order to send them back to Asura ahead of her. To accomplish this objective, Ariel decided to strengthen her influence at the school. The student council at the university possessed neither complete autonomy nor a strong authority, but it was seen as the pinnacle of a school attended by 10,000 students, and highly influential among those students. Ariel, who was looking to recruit talent before it even began to bloom, found the organization exceptionally useful. Intent on her objective and already supremely talented, Ariel distinguished herself quickly, and a request to join the student council was approved despite the fact she was a mere first year. After a few months had passed and Ariel was certain she had a solid foundation to work from, she gathered all of her attendants in a room for a strategy meeting. We were able to enter the student council, but we mustn't grow complacent. This is merely the first step. Understood. Nearly 20 of her attendants had been killed on the road by assassins, so their number had dwindled. Now she had just four: Luke Notos Greyrat, Elamoy Blue Wolf, Leon Elrond, and Fitz. All we have to do is utilize the student council. Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, all we have to do is utilize the students' council's reputation to recruit good people, said Fitz. That won't be enough. Ariel shook her head. Before this is over, I'd like to have the support of both the leaders of this country and the Magician's Guild. Renoa's kingdom's leaders and the Magician's Guild were both hugely influential in Asura, whose own teachings in magic came from Renoa itself. Granted, we'll have to impress them if we want their aid in this political power struggle. Impress them? Like, with money? No, with power. Ariel giggled as Fitz tilted his head. I am trying to become the ruler of the Asura kingdom. Just being a member of the student council won't convince them to support my cause. I must become someone who moves the council. In other words, I have to become the president, she continued. The vice president graduates next year, and the president the year after that. Thus, I plan to aim first for the position of vice president, and then for that of the president. Yes, or yes, I think that's a good idea. Those of like mind and exceptional ability will surely flock to some of your caliber. Oh, yes, I think that's a good idea. Those of like mind and exceptional ability will surely flock to someone of your caliber, and it is those very people that we seek, Luke said approvingly. The other three nodded. It had been 6 months since they first enrolled, and they had still had yet to recruit any allies. The only things Ariel had at her disposal were her natural-born charisma, the fact that she had been accepted in the student council as a first year, and the adoration of the other students. There were exceptional individuals who had caught her eye, but she had yet to reach a level where she could win their favor, unveil the full truth of her situation, and convince them to fight alongside her in the Asura kingdom. The way she would prefer it, indeed, the way things should really be, was for them to approach her at first. If the natural order of the uh, if the natural order of things is for you to become president, then you should ideally win the vote by an overwhelming majority, Alamoy said, her hand pressed to her chin. The sitting president was in charge of selecting and appointing appropriate candidates to council. When a president retired, all remaining members became candidates for the position, and the president would be determined by a school-wide vote. Such was the rule established by the first principal of the school, a tradition that had continued ever since. Even so, Ariel was a mere first-year student. Next year, the current vice president would likely ascend to the presidency. Once they graduated, an election was conducted. The other current members, all in their sixth and seventh years by then, with numerous accomplishments of their own, would doubtless stand in her way. Even if she could beat them, it would likely be by a narrow margin. Granted, becoming student council president as a third-year student would still be an impressive feat, but it wouldn't be exceptional unless she also dominated the vote in a landslide victory. Such was the path forward that Ariel envisioned. You might even call it an essential prerequisite for her future. If she couldn't accomplish even this much, then returning to the Asura kingdom would remain nothing more than a dream within a dream. In fact, she might need to aim even higher. It may be necessary for you to take the presidency next year, murmured Fitz. The white-haired boy had a grim look on his face and his arms were folded over his chest. Oh my, you say some terrifying things, Fitz. Are you proposing we outmaneuver the current vice president? Although Ariel was a first-year student, there was no doubt that she had four exceptional subordinates, charisma that had earned her great adoration among the first years, and practical skills to boot. And so, she had cut a deal with the current vice president. She would endorse them for the current position or the position of president in her next election, and in return, they would appoint her to their former position. This meant giving up her chance at the presidency this year, but if she were diligent in planting seeds during her second year, then she could be fairly confident of reaping the results in her third. That plan is good, certainly, but shouldn't we attempt something even more impressive? Fitz was absolutely right. If you unraveled the threads of the university's long history, you wouldn't find a single soul who had risen to the rank of president in their second year. The only exception was the first president of the student council, but that didn't count, since there were only first years in attendance at the time. Plus, if Ariel were to defeat the person who was a shoo-in for the presidency in a landslide, they would be talking about it in the city of Sharia. Word of her accomplishment might even reach the leaders of the three magic nations. One might think of the university as a simple school, but there were many alumni who went on to become leaders of the three nations and the Magicians Guild. If something extraordinary happened in the university for the first time since it was founded, there was a good chance it would come to their attention.
Hold up.
True.
Hold up.
Hmm.
Did you mean alumni?
Yeah, alumni, right?
You said alumni, and I'm like, wait, what? I've never heard it
Oh,
pronounced that way. Alumni, right?
it must be my Colorado accent leaking out. Everyone here calls it alumni, so
Oh, okay, gotcha.
alumni, the science guy.
Alumni, the science guy. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
All right, sorry. Please
excuse me.
continue.
Yeah. True, but we won't be able to defeat the vice president without a plan. Well, about that, I actually do have a really good plan. Let's hear it. Though caught off guard by Fitz's proposal, Ariel shifted her seat and listened closely. Um, well, Princess, you know how you've been the target of some harassment lately. Indeed. It had just started just after she joined the student council. There were several incidents in succession. People spitting in front of her as she walked, people bumping shoulders with her, people purposely hitting her with with a water ball during magic practice. They were passed off as coincidence, but Ariel knew that they were intentional. After all, they had gradually escalated in severity. The worst was when some of her underwear, which had hung out to dry that night, was stolen and dumped in front of the boys' dormitory. That had indisputably been a step too far, and she'd asked Fitz and Alamois to look into the matter, as a result of which I discovered the masterminds, Fitz announced. Linnea and Persena. So it was those two after all. They were the descendants of the leaders of the Duldia tribe, which reigned sovereign among the beast folk, the two girls who had traveled halfway across the world from the Great Forest. As members of the Duldia tribe, they had a pampered upbringing and let their magical talent go to their heads. The lenient environment of the school only worsened their attitudes, and the two became complete delinquents, feared by the entirety of the student body, with their entourage of 20 plus fierce looking beast folk in tow. People cleared the way whenever they want. If you so much as made eye contact, their whole gang would pile on you. The school administrators were troubled by their inappropriate conduct, but the girls were essentially princesses of the Doldia tribe. Reprimanding them ran the risk of making enemies of all beast folk attending the university, and the beast folk were quite numerous here. If still a minority compared to the humans, and so the school had yet, or sorry, if still a minority compared to the humans. And so the school had yet to step in, and many a student cried themselves to sleep at night. Oh, what does that have to do with your plan? We crushed them. Fitz closed his hand to a fist. The students are terrified of those bullies. If we put a stop to them, everyone will be on your side, Princess. A fire burned in Fitz's eyes. What they had done was unforgivable and unforgettable, apparently. Fitz respected and adored Ariel, and they had taken her underwear and dropped in front of the boys' dorm of all places, with the nerve to add a note saying, "This underwear belongs to the Assyrian princess." Since then, many of the male beastfolk had watched Ariel with hungry looks. Presumably, the princess was unfazed by this, but Fitz couldn't stand it. If we start trouble with them in school, it will be our reputation that plummets, Ariel said. If we can provoke them into attacking us first, it will be legitimate self defense. The school will back us up in such a scenario. Plus, if that's what we're up against, I'm pretty sure I can handle it by myself. Ariel briefly considered his words, then glanced at the faces of those present. Whenever she felt unsure, she sought the opinions of her other attendants. I think it's a good idea. What they did was unforgivable. If it comes down to a fight, oh, sorry, I think that's, yeah. I think it's a good idea. What they did was unforgivable. If it comes down to a fight, I'll jump in. I can't offer much, but I'll help where I can. Agreed. Their words were reassuring, and Ariel offered them an encouraging smile in return. Very well, then. Why, I'm sure what we're about to attempt is risky. Since you all agree, let's give it a go. And thus, the mission to crown Ariel as the student council president was underway. The plan was put into motion about a week later. It was noon, and all the students were moving to the school cafeteria. Linnea had her hands shoved in her pockets, and Persenna had something that resembled a cigarette protruding from her mouth. Their uniforms looked sloppy, their postures terrible. They looked the part of the delinquents so well that if Rudius had seen them, he would have hugged the wall and kept his head down, avoiding meeting their eyes. Such bullies existed even in this world, or even in this world. The Beast Girls strutted at the head of the pack as if they owned the place. In comparison, Ariel's group was only 3 people strong: Ariel, Luke, and Fitz. They made it look like they encountered Linnea and Persenna in front of the cafeteria by chance. At first, Linnea and Ariel exchanged looks that demanded that the other person make way, but it was Ariel who finally feigned indifference and stepped aside. The beast folk let forth a snicker as they watched. How pathetic. Some princess. Oh yeah, wasn't that her underwear lying in front of the dorm recently? She's trying to hook men that way, right? Humans mate for their entire lives, after all. They cackled. Enough, Mew, said Linnea. Yeah, you're making me feel sorry for her, agreed Persenna. The two looked smug as they delivered those reprimands and headed into the cafeteria. It felt good to ridicule the privileged. It felt even better to put a stop to it, thereby gaining the moral high ground. There was nothing Ariel could do do about it either. After all, Linnea and Persenna had 20 beast folk in tow. Most of them were half human, and they'd never been in a proper fight before, but there was strength in numbers, which they used to mock the widely popular princess of a large country. Parading around with 20 men in tow, like some kind of herd. It seems like Doldia are really no better than animals, Ariel murmured. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Her lips had barely even moved so that none of the other students could hear her. Hey, what did you just say? However, beastfolk had far better hearing than the humans could pick up even the or beastfolk had far better hearing than the humans and could pick up even the quietest of sounds. Thus, Linnea and Persenna had caught that faint utterance. The rest of their band didn't have quite as advanced hearing, but several of them heard it too. I don't believe I said anything, Ariel replied innocently. No, I'm sure I heard it, Mew. You were trash talking us, Mew. Weren't they, Persenna? Seriously, fuck 'em. Linia's fur was puffed up and Persenna had spit out whatever she had in her mouth. A chicken bone, as it turned out. Persenna was so gluttonous that she constantly snacked between meals. Once they were certain that Ariel was picking a fight, they marched right up to her and stared her down. Well, go on. Try saying that to us again, Mew. This time, do it to our faces. Or you can prostrate yourself, offered Persenna. Get on your back and show us your belly. I already told you, I didn't say anything. Ariel spoke with confidence, even as the two threatened her. To an outside observer, it looked like Linia and Persenna were antagonizing Ariel without cause. Linia narrowed her eyes. Don't tell me you're a chicken, Mew. Chicken? I eat chicken, growled Persenna. What on earth is this about? Ariel, on the other hand, seemed entirely unaffected. She looked every bit as bold as a king. Then, barely audible, she said, once this year's mating season is over, you'll be having the children of men whose names you don't even know, just like mutts on the street. No one could even see Ariel's lips move, as a sheer nobility. She had been trained to speak without detection. Therefore, her whisper was only loud enough for Linia and Persenna, who were in close range, to pick up. You bitch! You have some nerve! Fine. We'll fight you then, Mew. We'll beat the crap out of you, strip you naked, and dump water all over you. From the sidelines, it looked like Linia and Persenna had suddenly lost their tempers because they didn't like Ariel's attitude. In fact, no one doubted that was what it was. The Beast Girls often had exactly this reaction when they thought someone was being too cocky with them. And as soon as they jumped into action, their 20 lackeys followed. You'll be seeing stars soon. Say your prayers. We'll pound you into the ground. The swarm of them flew forward, arms reaching for Ariel. They wouldn't reach her. God! Yeah! Before they realized what was happening, they'd been sent flying back through the air. In a split second, they were scattered and tumbling across the floor. Linia and Persenna instantly leapt back to their feet, scanning their surroundings. What was that, Mew? It's Fitz! That little minion of Ariel's did something! Fitz, the white-haired boy that was always standing behind Ariel with a look of indifference, was in front of the princess. As soon as the beast folk moved, he'd stepped in front of her and used his silent casting to create a shockwave that blasted them back. The only one who moved forward was Fitz. Ariel maintained her prim and proper posture, and although Luke's hand rested on the hilt of his blade, he didn't move. Fitz stood completely alone, and yet he looked confident that he could handle them. Fitz said nothing. He rarely ever spoke. Only a few students ever heard his voice. Now that he stood in their way, Linia and Persenna made him their target. Yeah! The 20 beast folk fell on Fitz like a wave. Fitz remained silent. His body didn't even move, just his hands. Each time they did, a fire explosion happened or an icy object shot from the ground. These attacks relentlessly pummeled the beast folk, and in seconds, all 20 of them were sent tumbling through the air. They squealed like puppies as they were blasted with Fitz magic, either knocked unconscious or scrambling to retreat. 20 opponents were a lot, but they were all unaccustomed to fighting, scarcely unattended class, and primarily relied on violence and numbers to maintain their threatening appearance. I'm gonna tear you to pieces, Mew! Fuck yeah, we will. Only Linia and Persenna were different. Their fighting spirits weren't dampened, but even as they witnessed Fitz's magic for themselves, In fact, they dodged each spell with great agility. Linia then charged forward while Persenna put her hands to her lips. Excuse me. Woo! Werewolves in London. I can't even do that. They had unique vocal cords that could make sounds infused with magic to instantly paralyze their opponents. This type of magic was inherent to the beast folk. The tendril blood trickled from Fitz's nose, and his upper body slumped forward. Once Linia was sure to be hit, she slashed her claws towards his face. One of them would use vocal magic to seal the enemy's movement, while the other went in for the kill. That was Linia and Persenna's strategy for victory. However, in the next moment, Fitz made a baffling move. He lifted his hands and slapped his ears. Blood burst forth. At the same time, Linia charged in. I got you, Mew! Her claws slashed forward, but just as she was certain she'd hit her target, Fitz sank downwards. Linia caught a few strands of his hair, but now he'd slipped right in past her defenses. His fist shot into the pit of her stomach, emitting a shockwave that sent her flying through the air like shrapnel from an explosion. Why? Gasped Persenna. Fitz didn't miss a beat. He headed straight for Persenna, who was visibly shaken by the fact that her vocal magic hadn't hit its mark. She frantically tried to brace herself, but it was already too late. Ha! He sent her airborne with an invisible wave from his outstretched fist. She slammed against the wall of the cafeteria and lost consciousness. Fitz came and stood in front of Linia, who was gasping for air. The boy had carried out his wrath in silence the entire time. Linia was in shock as he towered over her. She glanced at her surroundings, but not a single person from their group remained standing. Even her reliable partner was sprawled helplessly on the ground with her legs spread wide open, completely unconscious. Linnea realized that their group had been decimated and lost the fight. You, you win, you. Even as Linnea conceded defeat, Fitz remained eerily quiet. His eyes were hidden behind his sunglasses, but the anger was still there, a true killing intent that couldn't be satisfied by this joke of a fight. Fitz knew exactly what they had done, and that they'd thrown water on Ariel, stolen her underwear, and discarded it. Linnea might have her pride, but she didn't value it more than her life. We're, we're sorry, Mew. We'll apologize for the underwear incident, too. I'll even do this, Mew. Linnea had no choice but to take a submissive posture, exposing her stomach in repentance. It was the most humiliating move for beast folk. Fitz smashed a ball of water over both Linnea, who was prostrating herself, and Presena, who was lying unconscious a short distance away. There was little attack power behind it, but it was equivalent of having a bucket upended on them. Both beast girls were drenched, looking quite pitiful with their fur flattened against their skin. If you've truly learned your lesson, never raise your hand against Princess Ariel again. Fitz left them with those words. He rarely ever said anything. It was the first time that Linnea, Persenna, and the rest of the students in the cafeteria, indeed, any of them, save for Ariel and Luke, had heard him speak. His voice was high, almost feminine. It, yes, understood. Linnea nodded, her face bright red with shame. Fitz, well done. Let us be on our way. Ariel offered him a quick smile when he returned, and their group departed as if nothing had ever happened. Only Linnea and Persenna were left in their wake, looking like a couple of drowned rats. They soon retreated, unable to withstand the attention that was now focused on them. All the students who had witnessed this spontaneously broke into applause. That was the moment when the delinquents who acted like they ruled the school were defeated. After that, courtesy of LMY and Clean's work, rumors spread that it was, in fact, Linnea and Persenna who had sent their minions to beat up Ariel. The majority of the beast folk involved were expelled in the incident's aftermath. And that was how Ariel secured her current position. By driving the delinquents out of the school and bringing peace back to the campus, she earned the gratitude of her students, who then voted for her in the following election. She became the student council president in her second year, and many regard her with strong admiration. That situation, of course, didn't sit well with the vice president. They spent the remaining year making snide comments, but they hadn't the courage to face Fitz, the very man who had taken on the indomitable Linnea and Persenna all by himself. Excuse me, and graduated quietly. As for the humiliated party of two, fuck. Somehow they managed to avoid expulsion. Behavior wasn't entirely improved, but they were still hostile towards Ariel, but they were attending classes more seriously. They would hiss and bark like sore losers whenever they laid eyes on her, even as they tucked their tails between their legs and made way for her to pass. We won't forget what you did to us, Mew. Better not go out at night. Ariel said nothing. She just giggled. This only increased the admiration directed at Ariel and her two bodyguards. There was no one left at the school who could stand up to the princess. Yeah, some water. Voicing beast women is not on my repertoire.
Mew Mew.
It's hard to do. Anyway,
It's like trying to do Pokemon.
I'm more of a honk shoe kind of guy, not a mew nya kind of guy. So that same princess was now a third year student, just as she planned.
Just to clarify, it's more of a fuck Mew.
That's different. That's a
Fuck Mew.
completely different connotation.
Fuck Mew, man. Fuck Mew.
Yeah, fuck Mew.
Fuck Mew. Fuck me. Fuck Mew.
No, don't
Oh,
fuck
God.
me. Fuck Mew.
We gonna fuck you all.
I'm currently holding my mouse pad like a potato. trying to kind of trying to understand what I just read.
No one put me into a potato.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
This
Continue.
yes. That same princess was now a third year student, just as she planned. Becoming the student council president in her second year allowed her to make contact with both the Magicians Guild and the rulers of Renoa Kingdom. Those of like mind flocked to the student council, and Ariel picked the most exceptional and trustworthy to go out to the Asura Kingdom and proceed with her plans. What she considered her vanguard would be leaving for the kingdom the following year. Everything had gone surprisingly well in this past year since she became the president. Today, they were conducting another one of their strategy meetings, though they had transitioned from her personal suite to the student council room. Now then, Clean, are there any promising candidates among the first years this year? She asked. There are. Zenoba Chiron and Cliff Grimoire in particular. The former is a blessed child, while the latter was able to perform advanced tier magic even before he enrolled. Very well. Let's look for opportunities to gradually engage them. Are there any others who stand out? Among the first years? No, I don't believe so. Clean shook her head. However, There may be some who will show promise in the future. I still require many more pieces for my chessboard. Perhaps we should look at reaching out to those outside of the school. As Aria agonized over what to do, LMY looked up. Princess, I suspected you would say as much. I have already located some particularly impressive individuals beyond the walls of the university. I expected no less. Let me see what information you have on them. Yes, Princess. LMY pulled out a sheaf of papers from one of the cabinets in the student council room and handed them over. I would propose selecting some of these, inviting them to the school, and then assessing their character before approaching them to join us. What do you think? That sounds good. Please go ahead and begin the selection process. As for inviting them, we can ask Vice Principal Genius? Yeah, Vice Principal Genius for aid with that, I'm sure. Yes, Princess. Fitz and Luke began to scan the list of Ariel's bidding. There were several different individuals on the list, though from those already living in the magic city of Sharia to active adventurers across 3 nations, and even the protector of the Sword Sanctum, the sword god Galfalion himself. It was as Fitz studied that list that he suddenly gasped. Or it was as Fitz studied that list that he suddenly gasped. His hand stopped when he spotted a name he recognized. His eyes went wide and his lips pursed shut. His trembling hand tightened against the paper, creasing it. Fitz, did someone on there catch your eye? The boy gave a sharp nod. His expression was a mix of surprise, bewilderment, and delight. Princess Ariel, I know this person. The paper in his hand had the name Rudius Greyrat written on it. I don't know that name. About the offer. Refugine Manonote. I could probably skip that. But yes, that was the end of volume 7. Thank you very much for coming. If you are interested in sticking around for just a bit more, Richie will open up another stream, and like you said, we will open up with volume 8 within a couple minutes. So if you're interested, please stick around for that. Once again, my name is Shemshem, and I am joined here with Moonlight
Hi.
Sparks. Yep,
Hello.
Richie Roberts,
Hi.
uh, and Snuggle Velocity.
Hello.
Please let them know what they can reach you at.
You can reach me at Twitter or X.com.
Twitter.
Same name, Snugglevelocity at Twitch. As
I am
well as, and I just
also
realized I said Twitch instead of Twitter, but like, yeah, that's also another place
I
you
mean,
can
either
reach
is
me and
fine.
see me at, as well as
Yep.
YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I am also on Twitter, Twitch, Blue Sky, all under Moonlight Sparks. So
None of my personal social media contacts matter to you, so just reach out via Fat Talk Studios.
And mine don't either because I don't have a channel.
Yeah, there we go.
Not yet, at least.
I
But
do, but I don't act. I'm not active on my YouTube or Twitch channels enough for it to matter. So just Fat Talk Studios, guys.
yeah, but
More or less.
we also do have a Discord too. If any of you who are new are just joining,
It's made of real velour.
it is made of real velour. So if you are interested, you
yeah.
may join us at the Fat Dog Studios Discord. There should be a link posted by Richie.
Hmm.
But yes, thank you very much for coming. We will see you
there
in
is
a
a
couple
button
minutes if you
for the
decide to.
Discord
Oh,
here on the Twitch
oh,
channel.
okay, then they know. They
And
know where it
last but
is
not
then.
least, speaking
Oh, yeah.
speaking of social media stuff, we are finally active once again on our Instagram and our TikTok channels. So make sure to go and check those out. Fat Dog Studios. Yep, that's us.
Yeah,
We'll be back in
but
just a
yeah,
bit.
that's yeah. We'll be back in a bit. So if you're interested, please stick around. But if you're not, thank you very much for joining, and we may or may not see you again soon. Bye.
mhm.
5-minute break.